everybody, my name's Lynn Buckle, L-Y-N-N, and I'd like to thank Paul Kestrel for inviting me to the online version this time of the Speakeasy sessions, which we'd normally have down in Skibbereen. So I'm delighted to be back again, if not actually in the Tanyard, but in the Irish Midlands, on the Bog of Allen, on a lovely sunny day, and I thought we'd start off in my kitchen, which is also my studio, which is also my home school, which is also blah blah blah, but we could try some other spots if you like, such as our room here, or we might have locked ourselves in the smallest room in the house. Or stand next to the really arty books. We get really highfalutin here with some of the classics. Yeah, see, I'm not in there, but I'm here. The groundsmen. So I think we'll settle on this place, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself first of all. I'm a writer and an artist and a tutor, and I first started writing 5 years ago, I think it is now, yeah, 5 or 6 years ago, and my first pieces were in this, produced by Kildare County Libraries, an art service, and it contains quite a lot of my pictures and a lot of stories and poetry by our little writing group called Wordsmiths here in County Kildare. And it's a lovely production called Louise and Cléide, and it's available from Hannah's bookshop by mail order in Dublin. More recently, my first ever short story was published by Technological University Dublin when it was shortlisted for the Red Line Short Story Award, and that's in Infinite Possibilities, an anthology of short stories, and that's available from Amazon. This is a really beautiful production called Bridget, which is an anthology of poetry by Kildare poets, and obviously Bridget is the matron saint of County Kildare. And wow, it is a really beautiful production. Look, you can see through the pages. It is that beautiful. The translucent page there. Unfortunately, it had just come out at the very end of February, an early production, and this is an early galley press, if you like, of it. There's no ISBN number on it, so unfortunately I can't tell you where to buy that from because it isn't quite available yet, which is a shocking waste because it's a beautiful, beautiful production of poetry. And then here's my proper novel, my debut novel, which came out in 2018, and it was published by Epoch Press, who are a small press in England and Dublin. They have a lot of Irish authors on their books, and it's called The Groundsman by Lynn Buckle. Now I'm going to be reading from some new work today. You might have seen me at the beginning introduce myself as Lynn. A bit of sign language comes into my next novella, and I can't say when that will be for sale yet, but here's an extract that I'm going to read from it. And it's about communicating through sign, through innovation, home sign, lip reading, and how two characters in the story learn to communicate with each other through their shared love of trees, and through learning the susurrations of trees, and through imagination their relationship grows, and they resolve any problems that they would have had at the very beginning. So it's written in the first person, and the narrator is a grandmother, and it is auto-fiction. Yes, I'm a grandmother, and yes, there's a lot of hearing problems in our family, and really this book was really an attempt to deal with that guilt of not actually learning sign language properly on behalf of the family members who needed it and who didn't learn it properly either themselves. So I'm partly responsible for that. So there's a kind of a confessional part to this as well. But it is auto-fiction, so a lot of it is made up. I wanted to make a good story out of my own story. So here's a very short piece which introduces the grandmother and the granddaughter and their relationship. Granddaughter sits beside me on sun-warmed steps, watching the evening's passage. It is the same every summer along our street. Children running, friends hiding, catching, escaping, siblings belonging and quarrelling, drivers saluting, pulling home. She signs something to a girl crouching behind hot-metalled cars, turns her head to hear better. There is nothing to hear. The girl is gone. Pavements shimmer. She says, "Play," mouths granddaughter, chasing after her. I am learning to read. Her signs, signals, body movements, eyes and gaps in between all of these. Sign language being the least, it seems, of her many languages. I'm not a slow learner. I'm quite able, within the tyranny of hearing, to communicate. Alone, she runs along the strip of grass edging the riverbank in front of our house, flapping her arms in imitation of the large heron taking off alongside her. They head downstream in parallel, its laborious wings soughing, barely rising above the water. It decides against flight and makes a cumbersome landing before folding into position. Fraying chest feathers waft, then settle. Motionless, they watch each other across the water, held in ash-grey stares. Bird of heaven, Koreska. Beautiful names behind hypnotising eyes. It waits. It listens. On the same hearing range as humans, 1 to 4 kilohertz. But granddaughter and heron are not on this frequency. They share another. This lone bird without colony or mate, living here these 9 years past, owns these parts of the river. Shallows for wading, deep pools for fishing, and wide enough to escape from kids on estates. It helps that wooden fencing divides their environment. Parents' fears of drownings steers children clear of these waters. Severe warnings of currents, rapids, and circling whirlpools sucking bodies into underground chambers. It is said that children re-emerge downstream, having fed on androgynous mires with their blood given over to Iska to roam the vast bogs of Allen. Their desiccated bodies blowing in the brown dust sweeping over cutaway peatlands, crying for the villages left floating on rotting waters. Their blackened bog oak fingers piercing the surface, beckoning unwary walkers into their swamps. It is for this reason that locals do not traverse their surroundings. Apart from now, when high summer suns and warm breezes allow for the collective digging of turf with long-handled slawns and the building of drying stacks for the wintertime fuel. The blood-stained water leaches into newly footed ditches, reminding the diggers of children lost and of mothers keening for witches to return them. And all the while their small ones, who now breathe through their skin, play underneath drains and sinking bog holes, tormenting their kin. It all starts with a heron upriver. Do not let him tempt your children. I tell granddaughter this as she lies with her head upon my chest at night, feeling the vibrations of my storytelling warnings. Recognise beguilement. It's as important as swimming lessons. We live and walk upon these stories. She, at least, returns to me, having spurned the bird's enticement. I couldn't bear losing another. Come out back, I beckon, will do some digging. And she goes on to bury things for her granddaughter to find with a metal detector. And they listen to the willows in the back garden every day to try and decipher their meanings. And they walk these bogs and they try and find each other. So thank you for listening.